welcome to the Fresh Start 2025 workshop for teachers. I am so excited you are here and I have so much to share with you. So January is the perfect time to get a fresh start. And many of us are looking at some snow coming our way. So I thought it was appropriate to have that in the background. I hope everyone is safe and warm, and let's get started. Is this you? Are you already tired and the year has just begun? Are you overwhelmed? Do you have a never-ending to-do list? Trust me, you are not alone. This is something I'm hearing from every teacher under the sun right now. And it is definitely something I am feeling as well. And that's why I created this workshop. It's just for you. You deserve a fresh start. It's time for a new year fresh start. You deserve the moment to get organized and get all of your goals set for the year and to really tackle that to-do list. So I want you to just give me your time today. Turn off the notifications, get rid of the distractions, and really focus with me in this workshop. I promise you it will pay off this year. Now, that is exactly the plan for the Fresh Start 2025 workshop for teachers. I know that teachers have too much to do. And honestly, so much of it is out of our control. But what I want to give you today is a way to reclaim your time, to get out of overwhelm, and to really feel like you have more control over what's going on in your world. And I too need this. I need a fresh start at this time of year. So many people are so focused on New Year's resolutions and things like that. And this is a little outside of the normal type of training that I do. I'm the techie girl, and today's workshop is not techie at all. In fact, part 2 will be the techie part of this workshop. But today we're focused on strategy to help you get out of overwhelm and reclaim your time in 2025. So if you haven't met me, my name is Casey Bell. I'm a teacher, coach, blogger, speaker, author, podcaster, all in the name of serving teachers. And I do that in many different ways, but mostly you will find me at shakeuplearning.com or as Shake Up Learning across social media. Please feel free to reach out to me after today's training. I would love to hear from you. If you are a member of our All Access membership, please feel free to drop me a line in the community and let me know what you think of today's training. Now let's get started. What's ahead in this workshop? So today I'm going to talk about setting 2025 goals that work for you. No, I'm not making things complicated. If you know me at all, if you've ever listened to any podcast or read any blog that I have written, I am the practical girl. I want to simplify your life, not make it more complicated. And I want to help you tackle that to-do list, that never-ending to-do list as I stare at my desk right now. And I do have some scribble scrabble in different places, but I need to get things together and I want to help you do the same. I'm going to help you learn how to block time for what matters most. And I'm going to give you my favorite strategy for tackling complex tasks, as well as my favorite way to plan a productive and effective day. And I want to help you create some habits that stick in 2025. I definitely have been through this. I have worked through this process year after year, and I have brought to you today the best of the strategies that I have learned. So if you're following along in our membership, we do have a Fresh Start 2025 toolkit. It's 22 pages full of printable templates that you can use as you go through this workshop. Now, if you're not a member and you're watching the free version of this workshop, I will tell you, you can become a member. I'm going to give you a coupon, and you don't want to miss out on this, y'all. The membership has so much to offer. But I also want to tell you it's okay if you don't have this. But if you see me referencing this, that is in our membership at member.shakeuplearning.com. Now, I wanted to kick things off with a quote. And I found many different quotes. I really wanted to find something that summarized a lot of the things that we're going to tackle today. I like this one. I really like where this one's coming from. Writer Carol says, inevitably, we find ourselves tackling too many things at the same time, spreading our focus so thin that nothing gets the attention it deserves. This is commonly referred to as being busy. Being busy, however, is not the same thing as being productive. Okay, and I'm going to take that a step further and ask you, are you effective or just busy? Because productive doesn't necessarily mean you're effective. Are you effective or are you just busy? And do you identify at all with the picture you see on the screen? Because I know that I do. I am constantly trying to do all the things. And honestly, there are not enough hours in the day. There just are not enough hours. So I have to learn how to prioritize what matters most. And you'll see that is the theme of today's workshop. And we're going to kick things off with goal setting. So what are your 2025 goals? I set goals every year, especially around the December, January time as I'm reflecting on the year and trying to think of where I want to go in the next year. What are the things that I want to accomplish? Goal setting, by the way, is research-based. There is so much research that supports that the process of actually setting goals, revisiting goals, and tracking your goals will help you to actually accomplish them. So please don't negate or try to skip over the goal setting part. I promise you there is a reason for this, and there's a reason we're talking about this first. Now, you may have seen a graphic similar to this, and you might be thinking, Casey, are you talking about SMART goals? No, I am not talking about SMART goals today. When I decided I wanted to talk about goal setting, I said, I cannot talk about SMART goals because I feel like if teachers hear about SMART goals one more time, they're going to immediately turn this workshop off. And in fact, somebody may have seen that screen already and didn't know where I was going and decided, no way am I talking about SMART goals. And you know what? SMART goals are actually pretty good in terms of a setting a goal strategy, but it's overdone and it's overcomplicated. I feel like we have had this pushed down our throat and it just makes me sick. I don't want to do SMART goals. I want to do something smarter than SMART goals. How about that? We are going to talk about PACT goals. And PACT stands for purposeful, actionable, continuous, and trackable. Okay, we are going to break this down and keep things practical. Now, you'll see down in the bottom right, I do have some references to the toolkit if you are following along. If you want to pause the video and print it out, we will be in pages 3 through 8 and 9, I believe, as we go through the PACT goals. Now, let's talk about purposeful. What does that mean? Your goal should be meaningful to your long-term purpose in life or career, not just relevant right now. It will be much harder to stick to your goal if you don't actually care. And I feel like that's what has happened with administrators pushing so many SMART goals and telling us what to, y'all, goals don't matter if they don't matter to you. All you're doing is checking boxes. When a goal is aligned with your passions and your objectives in life, you are feeling much more motivated. Many tasks don't feel purposeful, but need to be done in order to achieve a meaningful long-term goal. And that's fine. Those are tasks, not goals. Okay, we are talking about the actual goal itself, not about the little things it takes to accomplish the goal. We'll get to those in a moment. So let's look at an example. So an example PACT goal would to be improve classroom engagement. I don't know a teacher who wouldn't like to improve their classroom or student engagement. So to make it purposeful, it's already purposeful, right? Increase student engagement through more interactive lessons. It is purposeful. It will help us. It is important to us. It will make life easier if kids are more engaged, right? Now, let's move on to the A, actionable. A good goal is based on outputs you can control. Your goal should be actionable and controllable. It's all about shifting your mindset from distant outcomes in the future to present outputs you can control and that are within your reach. Taking action today rather than over planning for tomorrow. So we want to be able to see the end goal or to not be so far. So sometimes we have to set some milestones and mini goals to get to those far off goals that just feel out of reach, because if you're not really working towards that in a meaningful way, it will be harder to stick to it. So I want you to take that into consideration, is how you can make your goal actionable. Now, let's move back to our example on improved classroom engagement. How do we make it actionable? We're going to incorporate one new hands-on activity or tech tool into lessons each week. This is a pretty generic way of saying this. You definitely can tweak this. I would never say just use technology to engage kids. We know that's not the magic bullet, but we want to make sure that we are introducing the types of activities that are engaging to our students. And it says into lessons each week. Obviously, you can be specific about that if you want to tweak that. Make these personal and customized to what your goals are. Now let's talk about C, continuous. It's important that the actions you take towards your goal are simple and repeatable. Say that again, simple and repeatable. So many goals are not achieved because of decision paralysis. That's when there are so many options that you end up spending more time doing research than actually doing stuff that will make progress toward your goal. And that is something I'm very guilty of when it comes to doing things. Decision paralysis is something I have talked a lot about on the blog. In fact, my very first blog post was named A Perfectionist with Paralysis, because I was so concerned with getting the perfect blog up and running that it was holding me back from actually getting my first blog post out there. And so it was my way of saying, okay, here it is, imperfections and all. It's never going to be perfect. And this is something that I struggle with a lot, and I think a lot of people do in the information age that we live in. You can spend forever in planning mode, in research mode. So don't let that hold you back, because I know I have. I have used that as a crutch, and I really need to move forward. So the good thing about continuous goals is their flexibility. It's about continuous improvement rather than just reaching that end goal. Okay, we want to see progress, and that is just as important. And so we want to come back to our goal here, example, improve classroom engagement. To make it continuous, we want to review and refine the activity based on student feedback and engagement levels every 2 weeks. Okay, so we're going to, again, we are improving that continuous improvement mindset. That growth mindset is built right in. Now T, we're going to make it trackable. Make sure your goals are measurable so you can monitor your progress and stay motivated. It's kind of like that dopamine hit you get when you're playing a game and you level up. When you see that progress, it makes such a difference. If any of you out there have ever tried to lose weight, when you finally see the scale going down, it motivates you to stick with it. Okay? It is just something that is so important. But making it trackable doesn't mean it has to be complicated. We have so much data available these days, and I know teachers are overwhelmed, and they're overwhelmed with data. So don't let this overwhelm you. It doesn't have to be a complicated spreadsheet that has a million different graphs on it. Sometimes the yes or no approach to goal tracking is the easiest way to do it. Don't overcomplicate it. You can make it. Did we improve? Did we do this? Did we accomplish this? Are we moving forward? You can make it as simple as you want. Now, let's come back to our example to improve classroom engagement, making it trackable to track student participation rates and engagement through exit tickets or informal check-ins. Now, coming back to this topic of classroom engagement, it is somewhat subjective. And of course, the way you want to evaluate this can look very different depending on your classroom. I do like the idea of using those exit tickets and informal check-ins. I think this even harkens back to some of the ways that principals try to do walkthroughs and understand our kids engaged. A lot of it has to do with posture and the eye contact and focus and things like that. But there's only so much you can know without actually knowing what's going on inside the student's head. So how are we going to track that? And what's going to make it feel that way to you? I can tell you, as a teacher of teachers myself, one of the things that's really difficult about recording a lesson like this in this format for me is I don't have an audience. I don't know if you're with me. When I do this in a live setting, I get to see your eyes. I get to see that engagement. So it's a very different way of tracking engagement. Now, let's come back to our PAC goal, and let's do another example. This one is to streamline the grading process. I don't know about you, but there are so many ways that I needed to streamline my own grading process in the classroom. So to make it purposeful, yeah, it's purposeful. It's going to save time and reduce stress by creating a more efficient grading system. Is it going to be actionable? Absolutely. We're going to dedicate 2 30-minute time blocks per week to batch grade assignments. If you're not familiar with the idea of batching your tasks, that's when you group your like tasks and knock them all out at the same time. Contrary to what we like to sometimes think, multitasking is not so productive or effective. There's a lot of research that shows how much time we waste in switching from task to task, and that we can actually save a lot of time by sticking to that one task and knocking it all out at once. Also, use a rubric or AI tools like ChatGPT to streamline your feedback process, so that can make it actionable as well. Continuous. It will be continuous because we're going to reflect monthly on what's working or adjust the system if grading feels overwhelming. Is an hour a week too much? Not enough? What's working? How do we fix this? Is it still overwhelming? Is this feeling like it's going to work? Does it work in some seasons and not in others? Because depending on what you teach and the level of that, when you start getting closer to testing season and those types of things. I know as a writing teacher that can look very different between whether I am teaching, how to write an essay, and I have to go back and grade 175 essays and try to get those back in a short time frame. That's a lot. So I may need to reflect on this in a way of maybe I need to stagger the dates that each class turns these in, and to make that more effective. And then we're going to make it trackable because we're going to measure the success by comparing weekly grading time and noting whether assignments are returned to students faster. Is it actually making us faster? There's also a lot of research on that feedback loop and how important it is for students to get immediate feedback or feedback as soon as possible because they forget. They forget where they were. We all do. Feedback needs to be timely. Okay. If you're following along in your toolkit, I believe it's on page 9 that you will find the at a glance document that I created. And it's just a table for you to jot down your goals and to add each piece of the packed pieces, the purpose, actionable, continuous, and trackable. Now, I would challenge you now, if you are truly setting aside some time today, turning off distractions, press pause right now. And take a moment to jot these down. Whether you have the template or not, open a Google Doc. What are 3 to 5 goals? And you may want to focus on your job, your classroom, or maybe you just want to set some personal goals. And how are we going to make these purposeful, actionable, continuous, and trackable? Okay, let's move on to the to-do list. I I have a love-hate relationship with my to-do list. I love making lists and checking things off, but my list is so intimidating when I start the day. And yes, I really do believe it is tackling. I did use a football player on this slide for a reason. Of course, we are also in the midst of some playoff seasons, so some of you may enjoy that analogy. As we think about what's important, we have to really manage our tasks. What things are going to give us the biggest bang for the buck? And so I come back to a strategy that I learned when I was 22 years old, fresh out of college, my first job. I worked in the corporate world as an assistant buyer, and I had some mandatory training. Don't we all love that? And I thought, oh, what is this? They're forcing us all to use this certain kind of planner. It's called the Franklin Covey Planner. What is this? And all of the people that I worked with who'd already gone through it were like, oh, it's great. Yeah, here's my planner. And I love planners. So I was kind of into it, but I also am a little resistant when everybody wants everybody to do things the exact same way. Okay. But this was a toolbox that they were giving their employees. And I don't know if it's something that very many jobs offer anymore. It's definitely not something I've seen offered in the education space, but I feel like it would be extremely useful. And y'all, I've shared over the years how I kind of geek out over planners and goal setting. I've read so many different books and strategies, and I've used so many different apps to help me with my to-do list and organizing things. And y'all, I always come back to this one thing that I learned from this training when I was 22 years old. It's called the priority matrix. You may also know it as the Eisenhower matrix. It's 4 quadrants. And so I have created a little template that goes along with this in the toolkit. But here's how it works. This is going to help you focus your energy where it counts, because not all tasks are created equal. The priority matrix is a simple tool to help you decide what deserves your attention right now, what can wait, and what might not need to be done at all. Here's how it works. It's divided into 4 quadrants, and it helps you categorize your tasks into each of these 4 quadrants. Now, we're going to see this side right here, important. The top part is important. The bottom part is not important. So pink and purple, important. Blue and yellow, not important tasks. Then we have urgent and not urgent. Okay, so here's how they overlap. In the pink, we have urgent and important tasks. These tasks must be done as soon as possible. Focus your energy here first. Example, prepare lesson materials for tomorrow's class. It's got to be done. That is a must do. Okay, moving into the purple, important but not urgent. You're going to schedule these tasks for a later time. They're valuable, but don't require immediate action. An example, and I'm sorry that for some reason it's running off the page here, revise your long-term curriculum plan. That's not typically a due tomorrow type of task. That is a long-term task, but it's still important. Okay, so that is a should do task. Now let's move down into the not important. In the blue, we have urgent and not important. Do you have anything that's urgent? A fire you have to put out, but it's not important? These are the types of tasks that we need to try to delegate. They're time sensitive, but don't require your expertise. Here's an example, stapling parent packets, okay? You probably have done that many times, and you may have to do it yourself, but if you can you get help somewhere? Is there a student aid? Is this something that maybe somebody in the office helps with? Maybe this was something that needed better planning because the copying machine should have stapled this for you, but it didn't come out right. And we need to make a note to make sure this doesn't happen again. But there are lots of different types of tasks that fall into our purview. There are lots of different tasks that fall into our purview that just simply are not that important, but we still have to get them done. So I want you to think about what falls into that quadrant and how you can possibly delegate or get help, maybe even having AI help with some tasks as well. These are the tasks that can wait, okay? In the yellow, neither urgent nor important. Guess what? Delete. Eliminate or postpone these tasks. They are distractions. An example, sorting through old emails during a busy week. Okay, I'm going to get my soapbox just a little bit here because I know there are people who just love to organize, and that's great. If that's something that relaxes you, go for it. But in terms of your time, it is not worth your time organizing old emails into pretty color-coded folders. Especially if you use tools like Gmail. I'm sure Outlook does it as well. It's been a long time since I've used Outlook, but I use Archive. And Archive allows me to save emails and they're still searchable. So I can still find an old email. I still have that paper trail, but I don't have to spend, which can add up to a lot of time just trying to organize. And I'd say the same thing for Google Drive. I love organizing my Google Drive. I don't have time to do it. And it's just one of those things that I had to let go of. I've shared this many times, but the search is so good. I can find what I need without having to folder, subfolder, creating all the things. Again, if you like it, it's relaxing to you, that's a different story. But in terms of the importance of tasks, let technology and other things do the heavy lifting when they can. Okay, so these are the tasks that typically you want to just delete. So if you're following along in your toolkit, I believe this is on page 11 or 12, and this is a template that you can use. You can press pause right now and take your current to-do list and organize it into the 4 quadrants. And this will help you with the next step when we really start to prioritize within these quadrants, what do we need to do today? Okay, I love this method. This is one of my absolute favorite strategies. Now let's talk about the second part of prioritizing that to-do list. This is called the ABC method. Sometimes it's called the ABC 1, 2, 3 method. And we're going to take those 4 quadrants and we're just going to take the 3 that matter. Remember, we've got a whole section of delete that shouldn't even be there. And we're going to change those into ABC. A is must do, B is should do, and C is delegate can wait. And now we're going to take an example task list and we are going to organize it into this ABC 1, 2, 3 method. And I'm going to show you exactly how this works, how I do this. So I take my to-do list and I begin finding all of my must-do tasks and I put an A next to them. So prepare lesson materials for tomorrow's class. Yes, that is important. That is a must-do. That is an A-level task. Return parent phone calls? Yes, that is an A-level must-do task. Amazon return that needed to be shipped out last week? Yes, that is an A-level task. I want to get my money back. Then ordering groceries before the snowstorm hits? Yes, that is an A-level task. Of course, there is whatever types of tasks you have on your list, and you get to make the decision if it's an A-level task. Now, B, plan the next 9 weeks' lessons. Well, unless the next 9 weeks starts tomorrow or in the next couple days, hopefully you've got a little time. That's a B-level task. Grading, hopefully a B-level task. Staying on top of that, but it's not an urgent task. And stapling those parent packets, remember, that was something that we should delegate. So I put a little icon in there to delegate. I'm going to ask a student or maybe a couple of students to help me staple some parent packets. And the X goes next to organize old emails because you just heard my whole spiel on that. I am going to delete that. That is not worth my time this week. I have too many other things that are more important than that at this moment. So that is how we do ABC. Next, we're going to take all of our A's and pick 1, 2, 3, the order that I should do them in. So, prepare tomorrow's lesson materials? Yes, A1. Return those parent phone calls is A2. Amazon return is 3, and order groceries is 4. Now, going through my B tasks, grading needs to be done before I get to that planning. Don't put that planning off too long, but those things that we can come to when we have time. And that is how you can organize your to-do list using the ABC 1, 2, 3 method. Y'all, like I said, I cannot tell you how many times I keep coming back to this. I have learned other strategies, and many of you may have those as well. But this, to me, just always makes things so clear. And especially when I kind of get out of my habits of how I plan my day and everything just seems so chaotic. When I come back, and I don't use the matrix every day by any means. It's in my head, but out of habit. But when I really need a fresh start and things are overwhelming, it really helps to break things down into that quadrant and then organize my to-do list in order. Now, let's move on to another favorite strategy, and that is called time blocking. So we talked about a little bit the idea of batching tasks together, and that's what time blocking is, but it is actually blocking out time on your calendar for those exact things. And there's lots of different ways to approach this. And I know teachers are listening and they're like, Casey, my calendar is already blocked. I'm teaching class. Stay with me. This is where you block out time in your planning period, before school, after school, weekends, whatever it is. And we're not just talking about work tasks. We're talking about anything that you need to work on. Okay, so time blocking is a method of managing time by dividing the day into specific blocks dedicated to particular tasks or activities. Oftentimes, you really write this in on your calendar, block it off in Google Calendar, whatever you use, scheduling in advance. And this is where those B tasks really fit in good, like particularly that lesson planning for the 9 weeks. That probably deserves a block. Plan your day by allocating specific time slots for different tasks and appointments. Prioritize those tasks, like we just did, helps in organizing the task by importance and urgency, ensuring that each task gets dedicated attention. So if I'm time blocking and I think my A1 task is going to take me 30 minutes, but it ends up taking me 2 hours, at least I started with it first and I can keep going with it in my time block as opposed to putting it off and trying to do it at the end of the day when I don't have enough time. This will also help with efficiency and completion by aiding in managing time effectively to ensure that all your planned tasks are completed within those set times. Okay. Who should try time blocking? Well, if you juggle too many different projects and responsibilities, can I raise like 12 hands for that one right now? Spend too much time in reactive mode, responding to emails and messages. And I want to say yes to this one too. That idea of feeling like all you're doing is putting out fires and never getting to the point where you can prevent the fires in the first place. If you find your day chopped up by meetings, if you're in one of those positions and you just go from meeting to meeting to meeting, battle constant interruptions throughout the day, or if you struggle to find the time and mental space for big picture thinking. What we're talking about today with goal setting is big picture thinking. And if you don't have time for that, you need to find the block of time for it, dedicate something to it. Time blocking isn't just for the workday. Use it to reserve time for the things that matter most. It might be family time. You might need to block that out so that you remember that you want to set aside that time for that family event or for creating just some connection in your own family. Maybe you a goal of yours is to start a game night in your family. And you want to schedule that and time block that. Lots of different ways to approach this. So inside the toolkit, there are 2 different planners. They're very similar. I just felt like what it looks like for a classroom teacher is very different from someone who has an office job, and or even someone who just doesn't have that that strict of a calendar. If you're a classroom teacher, you have very little wiggle room. So I wanted to help you find the wiggle room. And if you just take a quick look, you'll see that both of these planners are divided into kind of that before school or before work, during school, and after school and evening. And then the general one just has a morning block, an afternoon block, and an after work block. But you can also add in some more clarity to these. So for instance, within before school, what's your top priority before school? Maybe I got to remember to go make those copies, right? Nothing is worse than hearing the bell ring and realizing you forgot to go make those copies. Quick wins. Keep a list of tasks that don't take you very long, but that you still need to do and can give you a big impact. Those 5-minute tasks, keep a separate list of your 5-minute tasks that are your quick wins. And whenever you find yourself with an extra 5 minutes, take care of it. Okay. What do you need to do to prep for, before class starts? Deciding during the school day, what's your key focus for today? You can have themed days for time blocking. For instance, if you have a planning period every Monday, maybe Monday is your administrative day where you work on things like reports and grading and things like that. Maybe there is a day that's, for planning. Now, you may not have that flexibility. You may have collaborative time that's dedicated to those. So again, this looks different for every teacher, but you can customize this to fit what works. And again, we are grouping things together to help you maximize your time and your impact in 2025. Now let's talk about another one of my favorite strategies. I've shared this one many times as well. It's called the Pomodoro strategy, and it is a timer. The Pomodoro refers to, I believe it's Italian. Is it Italian for tomato? Somebody's going to tell me, but I think it's related to being a tomato. Don't hold me to that. I'm not going to Google at this moment, but that was not planned. I was not going to talk about that. Let's talk about what the Pomodoro technique is. It is a time management method that helps you stay focused and productive by breaking your work into short, intense intervals, which we call Pomodoros, followed by brief breaks. Now, this is a great strategy for complex tasks. It's also great for mundane tasks. But this is also fantastic for students. And I probably haven't even talked about that enough. Almost everything we've talked about can be related to students, well, depending on the age. But goal setting is a fantastic strategy, especially this time of year for students. Learning how to manage tasks, especially with secondary students, that is something they need to learn how to do. But this Pomodoro technique, when you're working on those really critical thinking types of projects in your classroom, this is great. But again, it's a timer. So here's how it works. You choose the task you're going to focus on, whether that's grading papers, lesson planning, organizing materials, whatever it is. What's your task? You set a timer for 25 minutes. I think I typically do 30. And then you work on that task for 25 to 30 minutes without any interruptions. And then when your timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break and you do something else. Okay. This is great for, taking a walk, a stretch, grabbing a drink, maybe you just go clean something up and take a moment. Maybe you just need to do something else. But one, it's good at getting up and moving after you've maybe been sitting for a while. It might be a good time to, take that paper down to the office that you need to go walk down to the office or whatever it is. And, the thing that I hate doing, cleaning, it's a great time to, 5 minutes, I can clean or organize something. If I'm working at home, maybe I can go unload the dishwasher. And contrary to what you may think, it's not as difficult to get back to your task, because that's what I felt when the first time I heard this. I was like, what? I'm going to lose my train of thought. I'm going to forget what I'm working on. I'm deep in that work. Please don't interrupt me, right? Well, as soon as I tried it and that timer went off, I was like, okay, yeah, we'll see. But it does, it's a brain break. It's a brain break. That's what it is. And it helps you stay more focused when you come back to it. So the idea here is you keep repeating the cycle. You 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. And then after 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break. Of course, this depends on what you're working on, or if you're in a classroom and how long that class is, if that actually works. But just that idea of the timer can also be kind of a relief, especially when you're working on something you've been putting off that you don't want to do. And I again do this the other way for cleaning as well, just setting up a timer and helping me to accomplish that task. So it's good for complex tasks. It's good for mundane tasks. It's good for a lot of different things. But in terms of your brain work, it really is just a little brain break. I have in the toolkit a tracker for this too, so you can see how many Pomodoro sessions it takes you to accomplish a task or a project and track those. And it's very liberating, again, to color in the circles, to check that box, and to know that it is done. All right, let's move on to another one of my favorites. This is the daily agenda planner that I have been using for the last several years. I have adjusted it and made tweaks over the years. I've even shared this on the blog a couple of times, but this for me is something I come back to. Again, I love planners. I still buy planners, and I try. I need daily planning, not just the weekly or the month. There's not enough room for me to fit everything in that. I need to see what I need to do today. So I want you to take what we've worked on so far, and we're going to translate that into this daily agenda, which I believe is also on page 19 of the toolkit. Now, let's come back to goals. Okay, so there is a spot right there in the middle on the right-hand side to plug in your goals. Now, I like to kind of make these monthly or quarterly goals, so I might add some mini goals so that I am always looking at what my tasks are, and do any of these actually help me reach my goals, right? How much of this is going to help me get closer to that goal? The other thing that can bog me down is my calendar. How many things are on my calendar? How many things are scheduled? So I leave a spot for today and tomorrow immediately. Okay, well, what do I have to do today? I've got a parent meeting after school on Monday. I have to remember that. I'm going to write that down. What's going on tomorrow? Oh, staff meeting. I need to remember that. And then I have another block for this week. What's going on? So I don't have any surprises. Oh, I forgot I have a doctor's appointment on Thursday. I need to put that into the system and remember to take that time off. Whatever it is, have a glance at what's going on your calendar right here on the day. Okay, of course, there's a block up at the top for the date. And actually, I keep forgetting that I have this enlarged here, but I keep going back and forth from the top to the bottom. Now, remember, we just organized that task list. We did the example, and I have an ABC column on this template so that you can write out your tasks and organize them ABC 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to take A1, A2, and A3, or you may not have an A3, you've got a B1. The top 3 are going to go into that box at the top. Today's priority tasks, you might also know these as the most important tasks, MITs, and put them front and center. You may even want to get a highlighter out if you want to print this out and handwrite. There is a lot of power in handwriting in terms of your brain remembering certain things. So you want to keep that front and center, and so you know exactly what needs to be done today. Now, I also included a little bit of a habit tracker. I'm going to talk about habits in just a moment, but if there are certain habits that you're working on and you can write those down and track those, maybe it's, drinking water, exercising, whatever those habits are. I also have a box right here at the top for inspiration. Maybe it's a quote, a memory verse, whatever it is, something that I want to keep my mind focused on. I will put that up here at the top. Now I'm going to scroll over to my next page to show you the bottom. Okay, this is where I make the actual agenda for the day. So I've looked at my calendar and I'm going to take whatever those are, those meetings that have to happen at a certain time, I'm going to plug those into my agenda. And then I'm going to block. I'm going to do that time blocking where I can. So if I get to school at 7 and I have 7 to 7:45 to work on something in my room, I'm going to time block and put that on my agenda. 7 to 7:45 is grading. Okay. And I'm going to time block. And then I'm going to, you may or may not want to put in your class time. Obviously, depending on what your schedule is, that could take up every single column here on this page. But, okay, planning period, what am I going to do? So during my planning period, I've got a collaborative team meeting. So I'm going to put that in. Fill out your agenda so that you know what's next. Now, you may also see that there is a blank spot down here, and that's on purpose. I've used this little spot for different things over the years, tracking water intake, or I might be writing down my meal plans or, dinner plans, things like that. So you use that for whatever purpose you want. I just left that kind of as an open spot for something else that might be more important in a customization that you need into your day. So that is my daily agenda planner. This helps me. I just print out a bunch of these. And in fact, a lot of times I'll print them double-sided because every once in a while I do use the back to write things down, or if my to-do list is so long it doesn't fit on there. But typically I can print several of these and I just put them in a clipboard, and that clipboard just stays on my desk. And so in the morning when I start my day, this is what I start with. And so this is just what has worked for me, something that I've just sort of curated from the different things that I've learned over the years, the things that help me stay on track and help me to remember all the things that I want to do and accomplish. Now let's talk about habits. And I feel like habits really align a lot more with so many of the New Year's resolutions, right? People might make a resolution to do more of something or do less of something, or to start working out or whatever it is. Keep in mind, a habit is just a task. And oftentimes the habit itself is to work towards the end goal, like if you were trying to get into shape or lose weight or things like that. But it might also just be something as simple as, I'm going to drink my 64 ounces of water every day. And you're going to check off on this tracker where you do that. So this is a monthly tracker. It's color-coded. There's room for 5 different habits. And it goes all the way up to 31 days. So you can just write in the month, write in your habits, and then you can just check off or color in or X, draw a dot, whatever you want. It can be as creative as you like to track the habits that you want to form. Now, habits are something that so many of us want to create, these different types of habits. And I will give you a quick tip here. Habit stacking can also be extremely useful. So if you haven't heard of habit stacking, it's when you take a habit that you've already formed, something that you always do, and you stack the new thing with it. So you begin doing those two things together so that becomes a habit. So for instance, if every morning when you wake up, the first thing you do is turn on the coffee machine, but you also want to make it a habit to drink some water before you drink your coffee, then you start drinking your water while your coffee is being made. You can do something like that so that it helps you to remember to do those things. And it's just a great way to help with self-improvement habits. This might be habits for your classroom. This might be habits for your job, your career. These might be habits you're trying to break as well, right? It could be that you're trying to make it a habit to not look at your phone first thing in the morning, or to stay off social media, or whatever it is. But lots of different ways to approach this and to track this. So I want to ask you, which fresh start strategy will you try this year? Which thing resonated with you the most today? Hopefully you're going to set some goals. Hopefully you're going to take this time and pause this video and go through and set some goals, organize your to-do list, and begin to plan your day differently. And really, take control over what is bogging you down in the moment. What is overwhelming you so much? I know there is so much out of your control, out of my control as well, that guides our day. And I want you to take control of the things you can take control of. And I hope you have enjoyed these strategies. If you want to get credit for today's workshop, you can do that by becoming a member of our All Access membership and get a printable certificate. I know many administrators will take these and give you that credit at your school. So it is a 1 hour professional learning credit for attending today's workshop. And there's even more. If you want this toolkit that I've been sharing and referencing, this is also for our members. This is one of many downloads that we have in our download library. 22 pages, it's printable. Obviously, there's a lot of color here. If you like color, you can put it in a binder. You can just print out the things that you want. If you want that daily agenda, they are all there to help you get the fresh start that you're looking for. And don't forget, this is only part 1. Part 2 of the workshop is coming soon. It is for members only. And this is when I'm getting into the tech tools, the AI shortcuts, all of the things that are going to support the strategies that we talked about today. We're going to talk about how to save time and simplify your year. And I'm going to give you my best tools and tips. And if you want to join our All Access membership, I'm going to give you a 50% off coupon code to get the first 3 months for only $28.50. So check the description down below and you can join and get access to all of the things that I've listed today and so much more, because this includes all our courses, our download library, and the community. So you can come in here and chat and connect with other educators. I can't wait to hear from our members and hear what you thought. And I do want to announce something new as well. I am launching a new program called Take and Bake Professional Development. So if you're watching this and you are a school leader who wants to take this training and turn it around at your school, we're now working to make that a reality. So you can bring this training to your own teachers. You can stream or upload it even to your own LMS. We're going to give you the slides. We're going to give you a facilitator guide and let you take this and bake it, so to speak, in your own school. So you can email Tiffany at shakeuplearning.com to get a quote if you were interested in this or any of our other workshops and courses that would be good for your teachers. So I thank you for your time today. I really hope that everyone is going to get back to a fresh start this year. And I hope you take these strategies and remember to use them. Take the time for yourself to do this. I promise it will pay off. And I hope to see you in our All Access membership in 2025. Bye, y'all.